mobile and going to be some minute differences between Android and iPhone. So be aware of that, especially when you're interacting with people who are on Androids and you're on an iPhone or vice versa. It becomes very easy when you meet somebody who's on a similar device because they operate similarly, even if the model number changes. But something as simple as where you're tapping the tap card. On iPhone, it's right at the top. On Android, it's in the center of the back. So you want to educate yourself a little bit on the nuances between the two. But if you're on iPhone and you're not dealing with a lot of Android people, I don't think you need to buy an Android and learn everything in Android either. It should be close enough. So with that said, Jan, what I do want to say is if you're on a phone and doing cloning, be aware if the card you're cloning was built on desktop or on mobile, because there will be limitations there where if I am on my phone and I go to clone a card and it's a desktop card, I think it may even give me an alert that this is a desktop built card and you can't clone it here.
It was built on my phone.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I think she's got a mobile build.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Let me find one of those. I gotta log out of here and get into Doug Demo. And Kathy, I don't know if you have your phone already ready. And
I don't have it in Doug Demo either, but I can. Usually you're faster than I am.
Sign in right now.
I was actually ready to clone the other way. I was ready to clone desktop is what I had, but we'll do this one first.
Okay. The other thing I was thinking about today, coming into today's thing, is something that Kathy mentioned on last Tuesday's Tech Tuesday, which is a contact first approach to things. I typically come at things at a content and a marketing perspective first. So I'm leading with my content, but I think and truly believe, Kathy, that from the network side and from the relationship side, having that shift over in perspective to a contact first approach is a great habit to get into if you're using Shuffle as part of your networking activities, network marketing activities, business networking activities. All of that is to live within your contacts versus living within your cards, if that makes sense. And we can talk about some of that. Let me share my screen here. Oops. Saying my password didn't work.
Oh, you got it? I can share mine and you can talk to either way.
I got it.
Okay.
Now let me share the mobile device. And then I believe my construction card here is.
We had no idea you did so much construction ER.
Right. It's Doug. It.
When it comes to cloning, there shouldn't be that much difference between Android and iPhone. I mean, you're really doing very similar steps. There may be like a yes or like an add instead of a check mark or something, but it really should be very, very similar.
Yep. Other things to note on here is where you're cloning the card from. Right now we are in cards. So I am cloning one of my own cards. The flow is going to be very similar, but here are all the cards. This is the construction card I was talking about, and this is a preview of that card. So you can see what it looks like. Pretty simple mobile built card. We're all pretty familiar with that. So we're going to jump back over into the Shuffle application. The key to cloning within the Shuffle application, guys, on mobile, you can see there's the construction card. If I just tap on that, it pulls up a menu, and you're not going to see clone within this menu. In fact, the clone option is nested in the gear on this menu. What do I mean by that? In the upper right-hand corner up here is a gear. Your clone is going to be located within there. I believe this is also the path within Android devices. Again, I'm on an iOS device. So I'm going to click that gear, and you can see that brings up a sub menu, which has things like cloning the card, or from within the card, going straight into my tap tools to assign that to a card. So let's go through the steps real quick. you go to your card section, guys. You click on the card you want to clone. You click on the gear in the corner and you click clone card. What this does is take us straight into our mobile editor for that card. And you can see it was my construction card. And all it did to notify me that it was a clone, it just says copy of. So I want to maybe relabel the card. Construction card number 2. I can also see what template it's using, and there's an option to sort of swap templates, but keep all the data, but we're going to keep it at template 5. We just want a almost verbatim copy of that card. So if all we did was give it a new name and hit add, we'd have 2 of the same card. Does that make sense, Jan?
Yes.
And once you have a clone of a card, you can always come back and edit that card. So now when I come back in here, I see my construction card at the top here. And I'll see it as one of my newest cards down here at the bottom, construct. And so now that I have a clone, I can either edit that card during the process of cloning, or I can come back at any time, click on construction number 2, edit the card, and start adjusting the information. Maybe it's actually ER. You know, and then I would edit each of the fields within here until I had edited all of the information, swap out the photo, do all of that type of stuff. In this case, the card is pretty simple. So we'll just create my version of that card, but you'll see that they look the exact same. So maybe it's just ER at LFI, and instead of 555, it's, you know, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4.
Yeah, I was just wondering on this platform that you're doing, is this for someone else? I'm sharing my card with others in my on my team.
Now let's talk through that process, because this was cloning one of our own cards.
Right. Yeah. That I'm sorry. I could tell with the steps you were taking that was just for me cloning my own card. But if someone else on my team wants my exact card.
Yep. So the first thing you need to make sure is that you've shared that card with that person and that you are connected within the Shuffle application. Now, if they are part of your team and you've referred them in, you're automatically connected if it's a direct referral. Okay. Then what you would want to do is you'd want to share your cards. And I'm going to go back to the flow that Kathy talked about last week, which is to start out within your contacts. Okay. What you're going to see in your contact list, sorry, trying to call out some things with my screen capture here, is people you're connected with. They have this little icon next to their name. People who don't have that icon, nothing exists right there. Okay. So in order for you to share a card with somebody and them to have it in their Shuffle card index, you have to have a connection with them and share it via Shuffle. So in this case, I'm going to share my card, my construction card, with ER via Shuffle. So I open up the information, I go to my shared cards, like what Kathy was talking about last week, and I select the construction card and I send it, and this is the most important part, guys, via Shuffle. So that way it shows up in their card index. Making sense so far, Jan? Anybody else?
Okay, I guess we did that differently before. We just went into, tapped on the card and did what the first steps that you did prior, where you went to the gear icon and hit the clone card, tapped on that. So those were the steps I had prior. So now I'm getting a little confused.
Okay. So now what we're trying to do is, instead of cloning one of our cards, which are all the cards that exist within the card section of the application, we're going to clone a card from card index. And those are other people's cards that exist within our contact section. So that's where we're going to start, because we want to clone somebody else's card, or because somebody else wants to clone our card.
So it's my card being cloned to my team.
Yep. So your team member would go to their contacts. They would select you
that's the
as
question.
Say again?
The question, is that what you're wanting to do? That's the question, right? That is what you
Yeah.
want to do?
Right, I want to share the card I just created with my team.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, just making sure.
Yep. So what you would do is you would go and send it out to each of those connections, so it shows up in their card index. And then they could either click on your name because it's going to be under your shared cards. What cards have you shared with me? And then they could use the gear to clone that card.
Okay, so they're gonna click on my card
Yep.
and then
The gear.
the gear.
And then that's where that clone card exists. It's right here at the bottom.
Okay,
So if I wanted to clone the construction card that Doug had in my personal account, first of all, I would have to be out of Doug's account here. I would log out, I would log into my account. If Doug wanted to clone my card, he would be in his account. He'd go to me as a contact, and he would go to their shared cards, the cards that I shared with Doug. And here's one of those cards. And you can see, you can share multiple cards with your team. So they could clone any one of those cards. The other thing is you can set your card as clonable or not. So we're making the assumption that the card that they're trying to clone is available to be cloned. So I'm going
okay.
to hit the gear. I'm going to hit clone card. Would you like to clone the entire card or just the template as an option? We're going to clone the entire card, and then we're going to come in and modify it. And you can see now it's did the same thing on the construction card. We got the copy of ER's card. Okay.
So
So it
they'll
won't
see it's a copy of
populate-
Jan's card.
Right, but
No.
will it populate their info automatically, or do they have to go in and edit?
Because we want the card to be cloned verbatim, they're going to come in and edit it.
Okay,
That way, any text you might have on your card or any extra things that everybody wants to have the same on the team, we're not clearing that out in lieu of just using the template itself.
Yeah, because if you just use the template, they're not going to get the information that you're wanting them to clone. So this way, ER could go in and simply, change the name of the card,
Yep.
change the name of the person, change, maybe their social media. So those are the most important things that they do, is go through and just change anything that's them, right?
Yep.
All the other things, the pictures, the word, anything that you've added, that's basically what you're wanting them to use will stay there.
Exactly. And then it'll
Okay,
go through and
good.
they'll build it out with all of their information, right? So he would find Doug's photo or whatever on here and select that one. And then he would change it from Jan to be Doug,
And so once
Okay,
they
so-
do that, typically also another little tip and trick on this is go in there, maybe change your name, change your phone number, change some things that are very obvious. Go ahead and add it and then hit edit, and then let them continue in the edit process so they don't go through and something happens and they get to the bottom and they've done all this extra work and then it doesn't, they accidentally delete it or something happens and they haven't added it. So typically if I'm cloning a card in this particular method, I'll receive the card, I'll hit clone entire template, I'll change maybe my picture or my name, and I'm gonna hit add. I'm gonna go ahead and get that card into my deck, right? Then I go and I edit it, and I keep editing anything I need to change: my email, my phone number, my social media. If I have if it is direct sales, right? Sometimes you have a link that's like the company / your number, your name, or your code or whatever. Change that, and then I hit save again. And then what I do at that point is I either send it to a friend and say, hey, can you push all the buttons on this? Make sure this is all me. Make sure that everything goes to where, it makes sense. Or I send it to myself and I sit there and I do the same thing. Does the phone number go to me? Does the email go to me? Does the website go to me? And if it does, then I know I've done everything I needed. I can just continue on with, that card is now mine.
Yep.
okay,
So we just went through the process of Doug cloning my card. Here's the card that I shared with Doug. And then here is Doug's version of that card. Oops, let me go back and view that one as in shuffle. So now when
So they
Doug's in
can
his new cards
personalize
after he cloned it in his cards, he's going to have Doug's new card here. And you'll
Okay.
see it's the exact same as my card that I had shared with him.
Okay,
And
that,
all
that's
he
good.
did
So they,
was edit the info over, swap out the picture, edit it. But all of the text and everything, because we kept the text, we kept the link, we kept the video, we didn't just use the template, we cloned the entire card, is kept within that. And to Kathy's point, I just went in and updated the website link to be Doug's link versus my link.
right, and this just helps someone that doesn't have the patience or the time or, you know, the artistic about just creating a nice card. It
Correct.
helps them to say, hello, I got everything now. All I can do is just edit it. So it's a nice feature to have so that it saves them the
100%.
legwork and time.
100%. In fact, you can even take that one step further, Jan, where we have people who are on a team or they have a team of people and they will do the initial setup of that person's account. So they will log in with the email and password. Again, we just talked about security earlier, so be aware of who you're sharing your email and password with. And then they will go into the card index and clone that card and just put in the person's information because they have that information already gathered. And then the card is built. If you feel confident that the team member can go through that step that we just went through about cloning your card, then you could say, great, I've shared the card with you via Shuffle. You can either go into your card index or you could go into my shared cards under me as a contact and you'll see that card. Click on the gear and hit clone entire card and then go back into that card and change it from my picture to your picture, from my name to your name, from my title to your title, and most importantly, from my trackable link to your trackable link.
Okay, so my next team member that's gonna clone this card will go into, once they're a contact, once I've sent them my card, they will go into my name under contacts.
Yes.
Okay,
And then under that contacts and where your name is, remember it's their shared cards, meaning it's the card that you shared with them.
okay,
And it'll be that one card there. That would simplify the process because if they, not early on, but long term, if they have a lot of cards in the card index, they've got to locate you. If they go straight to you in the contacts and go to their shared cards, they're only going to see the cards that you've shared with them.
okay,
So finding the card to clone is a little bit easier when you know who shared that card with you.
okay. That
And then
makes
every
perfect
time you
sense.
create a new card that you want the team to use, you share it with each team member via Shuffle. You tell them to go to their shared cards under your name and they can clone that card and use it for themselves. And I think that's probably the number one way, in my opinion, to help support and drive duplication within teams. Because you can't have the expectation that everybody's going to do the same heavy lift that you did to create a card from scratch. Also, if you want compliance or regularity, standardization across all the cards on the team, then you want somebody to be like, oh, wow, we created the template and everybody else is going to clone it. You may even find out long-term that there's a designer within the team, somebody who's got that creative mind and that skill set who could come in and build the templates that the whole team is going to use. And then they either share it with you and then you distribute it out to everybody, you know what I mean? Or they're sharing it with everybody.
Okay, well, that's even greater. That's even
Yeah.
nice. I like that. One other question too is there any way that a card will disappear once it's been created?
Not unless you come in and delete it. That's the
Okay,
other
so-
thing we talk about. We get the question all the time, why do I have 10 cards in my deck to start out with? Because you should keep a card. Why do some users have hundreds of cards? Because they keep cards. These cards are evergreen. That being said, you can delete a card. There is always a double authentication to delete it, meaning you hit the delete button and then it pops up another window that says, are you sure you want to delete this? The moment you hit yes, kiss that card goodbye, guys. The
Okay.
only other path that would happen under is if you had a full-blown account and you downgrade your account back to free, you probably lose whatever cards you had. And then if you, in the future, upgrade back up, you don't get those cards back because they've been cleared out at the time you downgraded. And it's still a double authentication. You're downgrading your account. We see you have 5 cards. You're going to lose these 5 cards. Are you sure you want to downgrade? Yes. Okay. Kiss those cards goodbye.
But that wouldn't happen to any of us in Avison, right?
No.
Because we've already paid, so we're not on a free
Mm-mm.
trial. So a team member just texted me today and said, hey, I lost my card. I was with her when they created it, and, we were putting everything together, and she said, what happened? I said, did you delete it? She said, no, I don't even know how to delete a card yet.
Yeah.
But it's
I
gone.
hate to say it, Jan, I suspect that it accidentally got deleted. We see this
Okay.
happen, and then we don't want to admit our mistake. I'm not trying to pass judgment on this person or position this person anyway, but I see customer service tickets that come in, and it's like, we know that that's the only way it would happen, but I'm not going to call out that person either. Instead, you're easier going back and saying, Jan, for Avison Medical is the template ID. It sits in the templates under the mobile builder, that they're more likely to go back and just rebuild that card or add that card back than, try and recover a deleted card. I could definitely log into our database and see if it got deleted or not, you know what I mean? And then call a spade, but I don't think that's justified or warranted. You know what I mean?
All right, I'll check with them, because I feel bad, because they put a lot of work into it. All of a sudden they said, it's nowhere, it's gone.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, thank you for that information.
Yeah, I hope that helps. And again, if we can help with anything else, just let us know.
All right, certainly will.
Okay, so I wanted to visit. Oh, I know Anna's got a question and her hand's next. Let me go through this real fast.
Yeah.
Rose Michelle has put the free card offer up. Is it a Facebook group? Rose Michelle, I don't know if you can chat or not. In a group, she added a lead capture. They messaged that they really wanted the card. She responded that she's happy to help them fill it out. And they just haven't got back to her. She's messaged them a couple times. Does anybody have any advice on that? So my advice was going to be basically, just see if you can connect with them outside. If it's a Facebook group, like, just, hey, can we just have a connect? I'd love to just have a phone call, see how I could help you. Make it kind of sound like it's not just a one-sided, sale, even though it's a free card, right? It's not just me wanting to sell you something or wanting you to use my services. What are you looking for? How can I help you? What kind of business are you in? I would just keep asking open-ended questions. It's an advertising group. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely would say anytime I do something, I'm trying to expand the relationship. We've talked about this before. The communication channel that you meet somebody on might not always be their ideal communication channel, right? Yep. I'm on social media every now and then, but I don't live on social media like some people do. So it's not my ideal communication channel. And every time I get in there, I've got lots of messages that I maybe haven't replied back to. If you're in a group, to what we saw, and I think Anna, you just posted this, you could take it from a group board where everybody in the group is seeing the message to a private direct message with that person, but on the same platform. Or to what Kathy was just talking about, you can expand it and say, hey, I'd love to hop on a Zoom with you, or email you that information, or give you a phone call to discuss this. And really what you're doing is expanding the channels of communication that you have with that person to identify, what's the best way for me to message you? Would you rather have, sometimes I'll throw out choices that I know are ones that I like as well. Would you rather me call you, text you, or email you? Okay, great. You know what I mean? You don't want them to go, oh, from this Facebook group, actually connect with me on LinkedIn and do LinkedIn direct messaging.
Well, now that or hey, I'm happy to help walk you through setting up that free account.
Yeah.
What's the best method to, let me tell you how often ERs on Facebook, we're not friends yet. That's okay. We'll be friends again one day. That's all right. It's okay. I'm not taking it personal.
Please don't.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, matter of fact, I just realized I haven't even gone back to like the LFI page yet. I gotta get back to there again. So, Anna, what's going on?
Well, I don't want to get out of the template conversation here.
Yeah, no. Let's go.
Just
We'll go
met
back.
with the 15 women. We're very, very excited about that. We need to create a template card, and ER and I have talked about it a little. We don't create template cards, my understanding.
Yes and no. If we're talking about the cloning that we just walked through, that's about the extent of an individual user's ability to create what would be called a template, okay? But from our definition internally, we inside LFI do have the capability to create a template that is a fixed template for like a group or where everything is laid out The challenge with cloning is that most everything is unlocked. So if somebody really wants to go in and adjust things, they can diverge from maybe what the original intent was. So we do have the ability to have a custom template, Anna. I think we've talked about that. We do charge an additional fee to build that up. But once that template exists, you can share that template with everybody. You heard Jan talking about an Avison template. That means it's the same for everybody who's going to go use it.
And that was my concern, because we were kind of interchanging the cloning with template.
Correct.
You know, cloning, they can still go in and change the logo and those kinds of things if they're a little techy.
Yep.
So yeah.
I mean, so it leaves the door open when people are cloning. It leaves the door open to take what you had as the benchmark or as the beginning ground and either use it exactly as it was intended, which I think in most cases with Teams is the intent, or the drawback is build upon that or change or diverge from that. You saw when I was going through that template clone for mobile, I could even go back in and change out the template. So I think you have to decide at some point, if you're working with the team, if it's worthwhile to have a custom template created. And I'll be very transparent with everybody. Those start out around $500 one-time fee. But once that template's created, here are the benefits. You can lock out certain sections so that they could only add their photo, they could only add their contact information, and everything else, the video, the branding, the background, the color, the layout, cannot be changed. That's the first advantage. The second advantage is somewhat future-proof, meaning in the future, if you want to change out the video, you guys have a new updated video about the product or service or comp plan or whatever, we change it out in that master template, and that change is reflected by everybody who uses that template. Whereas if you're doing cloning, remember, if somebody clones your card, boom, they've just created a separate version. They're not pointing to some hierarchical template that they're using. So if you update your card, they have to come back and re-clone it in order to get all of those updates on a cloning path. Whereas in a template, you swap out the video on a master template and it's updated for everybody who has used that template.
So if you did want to create a template, let's just say, it would be really helpful to use, like we did, the phone shape and the items on the side. What order do you want, and have that all created, all the links and everything created before you ordered a template.
Correct. You want to flush out what your vision is of your template. And then we can take those assets and convert them over into the custom template.
Perfect. That's what I needed to know. Thank you so much. I love everybody's questions on the Zoom.
No, this is so great. Additionally, I want to keep along this track of like cloning and replicating and trying to drive replication. Ruben, I did see a message from you about cloning. I honestly think the easiest way to clone, if you're doing it, whether it's a desktop card or whether it's a mobile card, is always on desktop. I just find it a bit more efficient. I don't think I can see myself being in a situation or somebody else being in a situation where you didn't do the proactive steps and you're unprepared and you need to do a clone in the moment. But if you're proactive about it, it's much easier to work through cloning on the desktop.
That's what I do. I always clone the desktop. The only thing that was interesting is either I was repurposing a desktop card, and then when I cloned it, I lost the shoulders. There was no gear, second gear out there. And I go, wait, what? Was there a change from the previous template to now, or what?
I don't know.
It depends on how old that original card was that you were cloning.
Was it. Maybe
it was an older version before we had those sidebars on there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of templates in the system, guys, now. And as many of you know, Shuffle's been around for about, 5-7 years now. So some of those legacy ones, they're still available. Everything started out with mobile cards. So the fact that the mobile templates still exist in there, those standard mobile template layouts have been around for several years now. Then we had the advanced builder. I think that came out, maybe 2 years ago, so you have 2 years of template development just within the advanced builder. And I think at one point in time, we just had the fixed side in one color. And then we had a build push that allowed them to have you change the background color or put a background image. Well, that worked for all templates moving forward, but was not retroactive on legacy templates. So be aware of some of that stuff. And that's just going to be the nature of progressive technology development, right? The new stuff that comes out doesn't necessarily retroactively pull forward all the old stuff. But I would recommend that you do your cloning and stuff like that in or in desktop view on a computer. The other thing I would recommend, again, if you're a leader leading your team, I would recommend that think about it. If you want to help them move faster, potentially logging in or setting up their accounts. And then once you learn the clone process, you'll realize that you can do it really quick within every team member's account. And I would say the biggest sticking point I see for people getting into action and activity sharing content on the platform is creating their initial card. So if you're a part of a team and you want everybody on that team to use that template and you don't want it to diverge from the template you've shared with them, it might be faster to log into their account, get their credentials. Hey, Kathy, I'm going to help you set up your account so you can get moving. Thanks for joining the team. And your account's going to be, Kathy Inman, and it's go to LFI and log in, and what you'll see in there is your team card. And I've already gone in and cloned my card into your account, and you just need to grab that link and start sharing it or generate campaign links or personal links to track it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was, in direct sales, I was like, oh my gosh, had we had that ability, you didn't have to wait for that big box to come that had your business cards, and then you only had like 30 of them to get started, and you still were trying to figure out how you're going to pass out all these catalogs and how are you going to do all this stuff, and you had to order more stuff in. And I'm like, man, your boots on the ground the minute you get started. You're like, hey, here's your business card, here's the things, everything's linked to it, catalog's there, you're ready to go. Again, don't word vomit on your friends, but go start sharing what you're doing and what you're excited about, because you have the ability to do that right now.
Well, and I think that's the solution to the, what you just said, the word vomiting that typically happens is I'm going to give you something to share out to people immediately so you don't have to do that. And I think you can take that one step further, guys, with the tap. And I know I've seen several users where, Anna, you just got 5 of these things, right? So if you had a team and you wanted to manage the taps, you could create, if you have 100 cards, you could create 1 card for each team member, assign it to a tap and send them the tap. And although they wouldn't have all of the measurability that comes with an individual Shuffle account, it sure as heck simplified to just say, hey, to start out, I'm sending you this card, and all you have to do to get into activity is start tapping people's phones or having them scan the back. And once you get used to that, then I'm going to help you set up your Shuffle account, and we're going to transfer that tap card over into your account or something. So, we just want to be creative in the ways that we're using the technology. The technology is just a tool, right? Like, it's the hammer, it's the saw. You still have to show somebody that they got to pick up and whack something or saw something in order to get the result.
We're so descriptive. Who just had somebody just sorry, they go back. Jan, you had another question.
Yeah. And you're muted if you're talking, Jan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there you go.
Yeah, I lost the screen. You had a good point there. I would love to do all this on my desktop, but it's down at the moment. I'm, reconfiguring that whole thing. But question, is that the best way to, what you just said, is to do it on the desktop? That's about the most efficient way to share it with the team, is creating it initially on the desktop, or is it okay to create it initially on an iPad, iPhone?
I think both will do the trick. I only come back to the desktop because I've got more real estate to work with. Everybody's office setup is a little bit differently. Like, I'm looking at a camera on a laptop right now that gives me some mobility, but then I've got another screen over here that's bigger. And when I'm working on stuff, I'm working from that screen. I've got a keyboard, so I'm not using my thumbs to type stuff in. I can open up multiple tabs in a browser if I need to cut and paste, text out of a document, or open up a YouTube to grab a video. I just have more workspace. So that's why I lean more towards desktop. But to your point, if you don't have access to a desktop, like this is one of the things when Guy created and I created this whole thing, we thought about not everybody in the world has a computer. You know, in fact, when I look forward, I see a world that's filled with people with smart devices and smart watches and stuff like that. And not everybody is going to have a laptop, or heck, I don't think Guy and I have had a desktop, like a PC with a terminal and all of that type of stuff for probably 10 years now. So, you know, my laptop doesn't have a CD-ROM slot. I don't know if that's what it's still called. You know, it doesn't even, it has two
Where's it
ports
go?
to the side and everything else is connected. Yeah, right. So I think we have to future-proof everything. And that's why, Jan, it's completely doable on the phone. It's completely doable on the phone. But if you have that accessibility, it's a little bit easier to work with more real estate.
Okay, well, that makes sense because I have a lot of family that are in real estate and I'm sharing my card and I know that they're asking questions. So like, wow,
Yep.
that's so cool. And so for them to be able to take the initiative, like you said, there's probably one artistic one in the group and they'll take the lead on that and they'll create the card and give it, share it with 30, 40 other team members. So that's the part that I just want to simplify for them. That,
Yep.
everybody doesn't have to go out and create their card and spend hours behind a desktop and, figure this out. So
Agreed.
that would be an easy solution for many,
But
many people.
also on the desktop, especially for anybody in there with the desktop card builder, that's not going to show up if you're building from your mobile device ever. Okay. So on here, the other thing I want to call out, these are things, there's some features that only exist on the desktop. So a big one of those is Marketplace. And you talk about real estate, and I'll just come into filter templates. We'll go on ahead and clear all of these out, and we'll just go to real estate here. There's a bunch of different templates right here, guys, that are real estate related templates that can help save some of the brain damage of building a card. And even if you swap out, on this one, let me just show a preview of it. On this one, even if you swap out the home that's in the background or swap out some of the portfolio of house shots to match more of the industry that you might be in, it can save you a lot of time, energy, and effort. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we're really focusing on is everybody's got a lot going on, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in all of our lives. So we don't want to, when our primary focus is selling a house or winning a listing, we don't want to sit down for 2 hours to build a card on our mobile phone. You know what I mean? We just want to get into action as quickly as possible and have the assets and the tools to go out and do what we need to do.
Hey, Kathy, this weekend I learned something. I was invited to an event, a big event my son was at, and we sat down at the table and these people were walking around and we all got to know each other. And they asked me about what I did. And I brought out my wallet. Okay. I picked out my card. I said, can I have your phone for a minute? So I started tapping people in our table's phone. Nothing opened up, people. Why? Because I forgot about going into the event manager's office, getting the password for the event. I said, I'll be right back. I went there, got it back, tapped, and it opened up for everybody. But it was really
Believe me, ask ER and Guy how many times I text them at an event going like, okay, this just happened. Note to self, don't do this again.
Yep.
Oh, I needed Wi-Fi. Oh, I needed this. Oh, I needed that.
I mean, I've been to places where my phone kicks over to 3G, guys, you know what I mean? And obviously on the web, you need a signal to leverage some of this stuff. So be aware of that.
Absolutely. Not a stupid question. So Rose Michelle, tell us a little bit more what you're trying to do. So how do you get the QR printed to put on your tap card? So there is a QR code on your tap card that should go to the same link that your tap card goes to.
Yep. And they're already printed on there, Rose Michelle. So when you have a tap card, in this case, this card ID number is 0004. This QR code is already in there. So there was no printing necessary on here. And every time I update it, it automatically syncs with the QR code. So you don't have to worry about printing anything to your tap card. But that being said, if you've created a campaign for a card or a link for a card and you want to use that QR code, you can still save that QR code and use it anywhere you would use a QR code. Send it to the printer, put it on a document that you might be making a flyer out of, something that you might be putting on a car or something like that, a placard at a booth. You would do that within either the link or the campaign that you've generated for that card. And if you'd like, we can look at that too.
Yep, sounds like that may have helped. So if you still have a question after that, let us know.
Yep.
So the funny thing that ran into, I know we're getting short on time. So, but oh wait, Anna still had a question.
Oh, muted.
Muted.
ER pulled up the real estate marketplace. How come I only have 4 and you have all those hundreds?
All right. Okay. I'm going to walk you through where Marketplace is at. I don't know, to be honest,
I'm in
Anna.
Marketplace right now.
Yep. Make sure that your filters are selected. So I'm going to go to build a card. I'm on my cards. I'm using the desktop card builder.
Right.
Okay. It'll open up default to standard templates. I'm clicking on Marketplace. You can see mine set to newest. And if I click on filter template, all of them are selected. And there's a service one down here with real estate. Let me deselect all of these. We're in the process of moving some things around within here.
Okay.
So you'll see
going through the
nothing is
process
selected.
again.
Nothing is selected. The one I selected that showed those ones was under business card as a category. And about 3/4 of the way down, real estate. And when I click that one, that's where we saw the Remax, the EXP, the OP real estate one. And when you click out of here, you'll see them. There's
Okay.
3, 6, 9. Did it show up for you?
The difference was that I clicked on over and put real estate in the search area. And then
Yeah.
it didn't come up.
So not all of these are mapped to search terms yet. We're still doing a lot within Marketplace to label things, sort things, and filter things. A big initiative for us on our end, just so everybody's aware, is trying to find things more, make things more accessible, more discoverable, findable on there. So Anna, when you type in real estate, not only would it bring up the business card ones, but any flyer ones or any of those other subcategory ones long-term that we might have related to that keyword.
It works. Thank you.
Yay.
Cool.
So the funny story I had happen was yesterday. I just want to mention this because it was so prevalent. So I was on the phone with someone who's a friend of mine from networking, and she was like, "Hey, I want to do this thing, and I'm going to be doing a launch, and I really want to see if I can help drive some funding to Little Souls to the nonprofit." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet. We really appreciate that. That'd be great." And she was like, and so I'm picking a couple different nonprofits, and then people can choose which one they want to donate to. And I was like, "Oh, that's fantastic. Like, who's your other ones?" Just out of curiosity. And she was like, "Well, hold on. I think they gave me a flyer. Hold on. I don't remember." And I was like, because I didn't have a digital business card to send you.
Right.
Send them my way. We will help them so that this doesn't happen again. I was like, I feel terrible, but it's so true, right? You're just like, how many times do you get home and you've lost some little slip of paper? And it's just so, I was like, we could fix this. So anyways, closing thoughts. Guy, you have anything? I know you jumped on to join us. But you always have a closing thought with something going on in your brain.
Yeah, there's all kinds of scary things going on in my brain. No real closing thoughts. I think here we are, we're the second last month of the year, and it's an opportune time from the aspect of people are potentially open to looking at ways of improving their own business and finding solutions that can do that. And so we just encourage everyone, keep your ears open. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of things happening in our economy. There's a lot of people looking for opportunities. To our point, we feel there's no better opportunity out there, because this allows you to really bring a crutch, bring a tool to help get that information about your primary businesses and opportunities, and this comes along with it. And You know, we've talked about it, the expansion of digital business cards, what that market looks like. We talked about it last Friday. You know, potentially being a $3 billion plus industry just in digital business cards by 2027. And there's a heck of an opportunity of a large amount of people to participate in that growth and be rewarded for it. So, you know, leading into the second to last month of the year, there's a lot happening on our end, a lot of planning happening for additional things to come for 2023. So a lot of focus is being put in that from ER and my aspect, and Kathy's is coming into the fold on some of those conversations. But we're just excited about where we're at and where we're going towards in the future.
Love it.
Yay! Yes, super excited. ER, what about you? Anything
I
closing
mean,
thoughts?
if I was to only add a little bit onto what Guy was saying, and again, guys, 2 months left in the year. It's time to finish strong, not take a break. And whether that's for your ambassadorship or affiliate stuff over here at LFI, I would encourage you to lean into that and finish the year strong. But also don't lose sight of that within your primary business. As other people are winding down and checking out for the end of the year, they're actually more accessible. You know what I mean? Think about that, because they're not busy doing their business stuff. They've checked out. When you outreach them, they're more receptive and more available. So use that as an opportunity. I think that's the biggest thing, is we have to look at the last 2 months as the biggest opportunity to finish our year strong, and also set up the momentum that we need to carry us through into the next year. Don't be one of these people, I see them all the time, where it's like, okay, full stop, I'm on vacation for the last month of the year. And then January 1 comes around and they're trying to kick things off and start from ground zero again. They don't have any momentum. I think that's a big contributing factor to why so many people sort of never go down the path of their New Year's resolutions after January. Build the momentum now. Do your planning now. Start acquiring the skills and the knowledge and the tools right now. And also take them to other people, as Guy was talking about. Help continue to spread the word. We're going to be finishing the year strong as well, so we hope to see you right alongside us.
Absolutely. I always say, like, there's no reason to take the foot off the gas, right? Just keep going, and then you're set up for your January as well.
Yep.
So
Thank
All
you to
right, y'all.
everybody.
yeah, everybody have a great week. I hope this was helpful. We will see y'all on the flip side. And you guys have, what do y'all have? Thursday roundtable?
Thursday roundtable,
Friday
Friday
with
with
the
the
founders.
founders, rinse and repeat, guys. We'll skill refill over the weekend.
Yep. So have a good one.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
Kathy.
Stay safe.
Yep.